Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and yes, another one of my favorite movies that I'm reviewing leading up to my birthday, and as I teased in the last review, oh yes, you read the title of what I'm reviewing, and, another one of my favorite movies. That's right, the biopic of La Bamba. Yes! I love La Bamba. It's one of my favorites, favorite movies and, biographical films, etc. It's just so good. Of course, yeah, because La Bamba, the story of, of a young musician by the name of Richie Valens. Yeah. So, I got, what is there not to like about La Bamba? Because it's just a fantastic, biopic, and, the story of Richie Valens, and, famously when he, when he died, because it was the day that music died, But anyways, the story. Los Angeles teenager Richie Valens, played by Lou Diamond Phillips, becomes an overnight rock and roll success in 1958 thanks to a love ballad called Donna that he wrote for his girlfriend, played by Danielle von Zernick, if I'm saying her last name right, yeah, whose parents didn't want her to date a Latino boy. Well, it was just basically her dad, so, But as his star rises, Valens has conflicts with his jealous brother, Bob, played by Isai Morales, if I'm saying his full name right, and becomes haunted by a recurring nightmare of a plane crash, just as he begins his first national tour alongside Buddy Holly. Yep, and Buddy Holly, because, well, don't really have appearances that much. They appear at the end of the film, but, we'll get to them, when I talk about the end of the film. But yeah, so this is how it all began, how Richie Valens got his start in music and just with his career and so on, because him and his family, they were living in a landscape. Well, I don't know, if I'd use the word landscape, basically they were farmers and doing oranges, and so picking fruits and oranges. I'm pretty sure they're supposed to be origins. I'm having trouble saying orange, oranges, but anyways, yeah. So, of course, again, Lou Diamond Phillips, he plays Richie Valens, and I think, because of, the opening credits, and it said introducing Lou Diamond Phillips as Richie Valens, I think this was one of Diamond's, big-time films, I want to say, probably. And, Isaiah Morales, who plays, Bob Morales, oddly enough, because both Bob and the actor himself, they have the same name, technically. And I didn't realize this, because he actually is the voice, was the voice, for Dora the Explorer's dad. I did not know about that. I never knew about that. Until now, so. And, there's also Richie and Bob's mother, Connie Valens, played by Rosanna DeSoto, who years later would be also best known for her role as Chancellor Gorkon's daughter in Star Trek The Undiscovered Country. Yeah, because she was a Klingon, so yeah. And then there's also Rosie Morales, who, yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah, because she was with Richie at one point, but then now she's with Bob. And Rosie being played by the late Elizabeth Penna, if I'm saying her last name right. And, Elizabeth would also be best known for being the voice of Mirage in Disney Pixar's The Incredibles. So, yeah. So, of course, all three of them, because Bob basically, he finally got his, family, out of that place, and living, in a home and such. Even, he took Rosie with her. And, because the thing about Bob, and obviously this did happen with the real Bob, and Richie's actual brother, that, Bob, he had some problems. He was an alcoholic, and he basically was raping Rosie, like, kind of just using her for sex, and got her pregnant. Jeez. And but of course, in the end, he does shapen up, and he becomes a much better man. So, which I'll get to that some more later on. And, because Bob just struggling, and, he rides a motorcycle, even, like, say, he picks up garbage, and he tries to do some hand-drawn animation, like he enters in a contest, and so on. And, like, some heated moments between him and Rosie, definitely. And not being there when she was going to give birth. God. Even say, like for Bob, because he's jealous of his younger brother, Richie, of course, because, well, we know, because with Richie, he goes to a school, and, of course, that's when he meets Donna, and he instantly, at first sight, falls in love with her. And, he starts, of course, forming with a garage band, and one of them who's a saxophone player, who plays a saxophone, like, he's not really sure about Richie, and he's kind of he basically is the jerk in the band, and he thinks he's doing what's best for the band, but no, because eventually the band, they follow Richie. So, who needs this? Who needs that guy? Because he should have known better. For what was best for the band and for Richie, he should have just gone along with what would happen next and with Richie. And also, because I gotta tell you, Connie, and obviously, with the actual Connie, because Connie is such a good mother, obviously, like, in real life, but also in this movie, because, really, because she was, like, helping out very much, like, she did in a heartbeat, helping out her youngest son, Richie, like, basically just spreading the word across the town about Richie, and Richie was going to give a performance. Like, well, it started off with the garage band performing at the garage, and throughout that, Richie never got to sing, and obviously the saxophone guy, he was hogging the performance, just singing a lot. But then, of course, once he left, well, Richie, he had the band all to himself. And even say with Bob, because, like, he kind of messed things up at that party, and at one point, somebody in the music business by the name of Bob Keane, and Bob Keane in this being played by Joe Pantoliano, if I'm saying his last name right, because he discovers Richie, and he wants to record his music, and of course, which they do, and, like, scenes between Bob and Richie, and especially because, like, that one sequence where they're recording Come On, Let's Go, and take after take after take after take, just, it's pretty funny, and, well, I'm just, like, even, like, because Bob being there, too, because there are times where Bob, he was supporting his younger brother, and, even because I think was getting aggravated on what was going on with Richie, because, like, Richie wanted to do what he wanted to do, because it's his music, and just, like, he should be in charge, that kind of stuff. And, of course, more, like, drama scenes with Bob, that kind of stuff, and, of course, when, he becomes a dad, they had, like, the baby is a girl. Also, things are not looking pretty good between Richie and Donna, because, well, her dad, because it's just her dad that's, like, like, keeping his daughter away from Richie, like, even at one point, like, saying, like, him, like, preferring Richie playing jungle music, and, like, he is totally wrong about Richie, you know? And it seems like, I don't know, like, Richie and Donna's kinda parted ways. It didn't last long, I will say that. You know, I don't know, because eventually, like, of course they get back together. Like, things are starting to look good, and with them seeing each other. And that was very sweet of Richie, because, well, he was upset, and, you know, even say when, you know, he said to Donna that he doesn't care about those other girls, you know, girls fantasizing and just seeing Richie, because, yeah, as much as, you know, there are a lot of people that love Richie, especially, you know, the girls, like, he cares about only one girl, and that's Donna. And of course, he wrote a song, you know, about Donna. So you could tell, because how much he loves Donna. So his first and only love. And also because, yeah, of course, another song that Richie does, which being one of Richie Valens' best songs, La Bamba, because, you know, at one point, you know, even after, say, Richie, he performed Donna's song on the phone, you know, Bob, like, basically took Richie on a night out, and, like, I think Bob was trying to hook up Richie with a girl. Okay, but clearly because he's drunk, so what's he thinking? Of course, Richie knows better. And that's when he, you know, like, at one point, because, like, here's the thing. I don't think, yeah, Lou Diamond Phillips, he never actually sang in this movie. It was Los Lobos. They were the ones that did the songs, and the lead singer, of course, being the singing voice of Richie Valens. I realized that, yeah, they do make a cameo in this, and they sing La Bamba, and that's when Richie, like, and obviously with the Richie Valens, like, he created a rock and roll version of La Bamba, and of course, as we all know and love and listen to this day, you know, and I think, yeah, even, like, Bob, the other Bob Keane, like, he's not really sure about the idea of La Bamba being turned into a rock and roll song. I mean, even though, because, like, Richie and his family, they don't really speak Mexican and stuff like that. You get my point. And still, like, some more heated moments with Bob, you know, the other Bob, his brother, and with Rosie, because even at that, even, like, I don't know, because what triggers Bob as well when his mom mentioned about Richie, and because Bob just, like, it just triggers him, because he really feels that his mom only cares about his little brother, does not care about him, but that's really not the case, you know? It's just the fact that, you know, he's got to shapen up. He's got to fix himself up and so on. Also, what else? Yeah, also, yeah, because another sequence is when, well, okay, oh, yeah, and, like, another thing is, because, yeah, the whole thing of Richie having, like, this fear of flying and with planes, well, he is at one point, he does start flying in a plane, and, like, traveling and touring and so on, and he seems to overcome his fear and what he dreamt about, because, also, he wasn't, like, he explained this to Donna, that, you know, he dreamt that he was there and he was trying to save a friend of his who was under a crashed plane, but he wasn't actually there. In reality, he was at his grandfather's funeral. And there are some mentionings of, you know, Richie's dad, and, you know, he was, Richie's dad was also not Bob's dad. Like, you know, obviously, like, Connie had a husband where her other husband was Bob's dad. You get my point. Also, yeah. So, and as I was going to mention, like, one big sequence is, of course, you know, where Richie is performing, but, like, before him, like, other performers are there, such as Eddie Cochran, played by... such as Eddie Cochran, played by Brian Setzer, and Jackie Wilson, played by Howard Huntsberry. I think I got that right, yeah. So, yeah, it's really cool because Brian Setzer singing one of Eddie Cochran's songs, and, you know, Howard Huntsberry singing one of Jackie Wilson's songs. And then after them, then, of course, Richie performs, and, of course, singing La Bamba. Yeah. And, of course, like, also other scenes, like, well, like video camera footage of, like, say, of a house party. And fun fact, like, at that house party, and actually, because, yeah, at one point, Richie does finally, because he mentioned this earlier, that, you know, he would buy his mom her dream house, and in which he does. And, well, I think it was at that house, I'm pretty sure. Probably not, but, you know, before that, because, you know, one sequence where, you know, video camera footage is being shot and everybody having a fun time, you know, and some of the actual members of the Valance family was there because they were involved in this movie, obviously, and some of them do appear in this film. I think some of Richie's, like, you know, younger sisters and the actual Bob, you know, Richie's actual brother was in there too, I think. And then, of course, like, okay, at the new house, Richie's mom's new house, there's, of course, Christmas happens, and even when Richie comes home at one point, you know, like, they celebrate his return. And still, Bob, at this point, because he's really, you know, wacko and so on, because he's really, at that point, you know I'm talking about, because depressed and so on, and a heated conversation and fight between both Bob and Richie, and afterwards, because a little bit later, it seems as though that, well, Bob really has shapened up, even when, say, okay, you know, what would be the last time Richie and Donna would see each other, especially when Richie said to Donna that he was going to marry her one day, you know, and until he would be a little bit older, you know, in his 20s, because, you know, it's hard to believe, because I have to mention this, it's hard to believe when, like the actual Richie Valance, he didn't look like he was 15, 16. He didn't. He looked like he was, like, I don't know, in his 20s and so on. That's amazing. And, well, the same thing goes for, you know, Lou Diamond Phillips. You get my point. And so, of course, you know, we would, you know, one last kiss from Richie and Donna. And then, of course, the next sequence is where, you know, Richie was, I think, yeah, he was doing a performance. I'm not really sure, but he, at that point, was sick, and it was snowing, and we get an appearance from two other, you know, musicians. J.P. Richardson, known as the Big Bopper, and he was played by, where was he? Yeah, Stephen Lee. Yeah, Stephen Lee was Big Bopper. And Buddy Holly, played by Marshall Crenshaw. I got that right, yeah. I think I got that right, the last name. And yeah, we see Buddy Holly performing, you know, and Big Bopper was letting Richie know about a plane and also a bus, and Richie would be giving one last phone call to his brother, and at that point, Bob was doing pretty good. He was shaping up, and even Richie could tell that, you know what, his brother was sounding a lot better and normal, like, wasn't acting like how he was throughout the film, you know? And Bob being with his daughter as he should be, you know? Yeah. Because who'd have thought? Because, this would be the last phone call they'd have. And up to when Bob was doing so much better, he was doing so well, he became a better person, a better man, and a better father, and especially, to the family, to his mom, Rosie, and his baby daughter. Yeah. And, of course, up to that point, they're almost about to get on the plane and even say Buddy Holly doing heads and tails. Either Richie gets on the plane or he gets on the bus. And, of course, I think Richie, he says tails, and the plane it is. So, of course, they get on the plane, and what's-him-face, I forget his name, he gets on the bus, one of the passengers, I forget his name, that was gonna go with them, he gets on the bus, while, Buddy, Richie, and Big Bopper, they're on the plane, and, Buddy's saying to Richie, the sky belongs to the stars, so, and who'd have thought, because, when the plane takes off, what would come next for the three of them, and the pilot, because four people on that plane were lost the day music died, and everything, because right after that, when, because the plane takes off and we see snow, because, we cut to everybody just doing their normal business, and, thus a radio, news report breaks in, and reporting about a plane crash, 4 people lost, and the 3 musicians, Big Bopper, Buddy Holly, and Richie Valens, and, from Bob, Rosie, everybody in school, Donna, and, Connie, hearing that Richie had died, and all of them, everybody are heartbroken, and Bob Keane, because him hearing about this too, just everybody heartbroken, and, very sad music playing, of guitar, and it's just very heartbreaking, especially because, with Connie and Bob and Donna, poor Donna, because they could have been married. It's really sad. In this movie, and what happened in real life, it's heartbreaking. And, a funeral is happening, because of cars, and a news report, and one last scene where Bob, he's just walking up to the bridge, and literally he shouts, "Richie!" And little, flashback of Richie and Bob running up the hill, as we saw at the beginning of the film. And not to mention, the same music that's playing on guitar, it was played literally when the movie started, and, with Richie's nightmare. Ugh. Yeah, what a way to end that film. You play the music, you play the same music that you played, that it played at the beginning. You get my point. But of course, hey, during the end credits, we get, I guess it's a little lighten up, because we get La Bamba and Come On, Let's Go. And also, fun fact, as I mentioned, Richie Valens' actual family, because again, they were involved in this film. Everybody who knew Richie Valens, even say the actual Bob Keane, him being involved in this film too, because Richie Valens' family was just so connected to Lou Diamond Phillips, and they were not to be there on the set when it came time to filming the scene where Lou Diamond Phillips as Richie Valens was to get on the plane. However, one of them, which being one of Richie Valens' sisters, did show up on set, and she begged Lou Diamond Phillips not to get on the plane. God, because it's like I don't know, it's like Richie was alive. You get my point. Just, yeah, I mean, that's understandable, But overall, La Bamba, just a fantastic film, a biographical film, and one of my all-time favorites. I mean, what else can I say? I love this film, and definitely, I'm giving this a 10 out of 10. And what about you guys? Like, did you ever see La Bamba? What do you think of it? And what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review a like as always. So, with that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of La Bamba. More reviews coming your way. They're gonna be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video/review. And stay tuned later tonight because another one of my all-time favorite films, well, to describe this, the word sleepless is in the title, and one of the stars is Tom Hanks. You probably know what I'm talking about, so stay tuned for that. Take care, and peace out.